So let me start with a question. How many people here have reused their passwords in last year? So how many people also use, your company asks you to change your password every 60 days, but how many people generate a long string, random string saying that it's secure and add one at the end when you change it every 60 days? So that is what attackers like, right? So a $3 billion company, 350 million active monthly users. Can anyone guess how many identities did it take for the compromise? Just one. So, CrowdStrike current report in 2025 said that initial access, 75% of initial access attacks, that is 3 out of 4 attacks, happen to leak credentials. So nowadays, the value for leak credential is more than malwares. So are your identities really safe? So there is no proper framework in India. So for example, there are many breaches that has happened already in India. There is no company coming out and saying that this identities or this data of yours is leaked. Anyone knows like what data of yours is leaked already? So we are in blind. Good afternoon. This is Venkatesh. I'm Venkatesh L. Sharma. So I've been in cybersecurity for over 12 years now, and I'm currently serving as Information Security Officer for Delta Exchange, and I contribute to research at IDEN. And I also my research has landed me in many Hall of Fames, mainly Google, Microsoft, Apple, Sony, and I also published many CVEs. And also currently I serve as technical advisor for SciSec Karnataka, which is Karnataka government initiative for cybersecurity. And I'm also in the top leaderboard, city of leaderboards in TriHackMe. I was 30 when I started making the slides, but I have dropped 7 ranks because of this event. So at IDEN Research, we run controlled experiments and try to figure out attack patterns, identity related attack patterns, and emerging techniques. So we wanted to do a real world POC to understand how bad it is in India, the identity crisis. So today we are going to see one of such POCs. So we wanted to automate things because in attacker's perspective, if we can automate identity related attacks, so we have seen automation of vulnerability assessment, pen testing. Can you also automate identity based attacks? That was our first question. Then we choose data sources because data sources is very important because more data we get into our tool, more pointers we get. So one of such data sources was data well. It is easily accessible to anyone. So basically, these providers collect all the leaked data and they let anyone query it for a on a subscription model. And next is ransomware dumps. So there are official, I mean, like ransomware people are very what to say. They have their own sites on Onion, Tor. They dump all the data there. So people who don't pay ransoms, they dump the data. So prominent ones are Lockbit, Clock, and next is Stealer Rocks. So stealers are very sneaky malwares. So if you are infected by a stealer, then you are bleeding data every second. So Redline is one of the prominent ones, and CloudSeek has a technical analysis for it. In on their site, it's very awesome. And also private collections. Private collections were never public. So until 2 years ago, anti-public was released. Anti-public is around 4 TB of personal data, around 13 billion records which were leaked publicly, and also NAS API, which came out recently. And now, so after we collect the data, so what do? We verify the identities. So These are techniques used by hackers to verify. Nowadays, attackers are not doing credential stuffing because there are defenses which stop credential stuffing. So nowadays they are going in a active and passive recon techniques. They are using such techniques to identify, verify the users first if they exist or not, and then attack. So they use team collaboration. They enumerate through team collaboration tool sets like Git. Maybe one of your employee publish something or like push something which is public already, and the attacker knows that this employee works for this company. Notion. Recently, we had some conversation with Notion, and they said some of our employees' workspaces are public. We asked them why is it like that. So they said when you invite someone in Notion, it creates a public workspace. So now attacker is also able to access that workspace. So it is a recon technique now. And also there are employee discovery tools which are available for recruiters, LinkedIn, Zoom info, etc. And active techniques involve attacker trying to invite you to a meeting using Google Calendar, Calendarly, or they'll just send an email to your inbox. If the email doesn't exist, they'll get an email saying that this email doesn't exist. These are the active recon techniques. And there is also a passive recon technique through scraping social media content, company pages, API documentation, technical documentation, Medium. So we built this tool set. So we built this module one and module two. Then now we run the two modules to get results. So this was a kind of criteria which we chose because India is very vast scope. So we chose only digital media companies in India, and we can see these were the results, leaked identities. But India.com was too much because not for long ago they were giving out public emails. Anyone could create India.com. So after this, now we have the data of how many identities are leaked for the organization. Now what we'll do is we'll take this to the next funnel. We want to risk score every single identity which we acquired from the leak, and we want to score them. Basically what we were trying to do is we wanted to find an identity which is very risky for that organization and just report it to that organization. This was the whole thing what we wanted to do. So we consider scoring them through risk factors like personal factors, where how many malware sources the data we gathered from, and also keystrokes. Keystrokes are really bad because if there are types of data breaches. One is through the service which you are using. It can be anything, Zomato, etc. It can secondly through the malware which is sitting on your system. So if the data is from a third party service provider, it will have very less content. For example, your address, phone number, name, email address, or something. But if you are infected by a malware, then it will have so much data every second, every day, every keystroke, your files, your browser history, your saved autofill data, everything is public. So we considered that very high risk score. And then if we found any recent activity, so what was the last activity in that log which we see for the user. Also we considered org factors because we wanted to see what role, for example, if he is logging in as an admin, then he's an admin of that company, and the job role is very sensitive. So we also checked for internal URLs which were leaked in the data which we gathered. And also we also checked authentication factors like what tokens were leaked. Was it an invite token? Was it a refresh token? Or was it an authentication token? Also, we considered seeing if there is any API keys which were leaked, and also passwords, hashes which were not cracked. So we run this and we found many identities which were posing risk to their organizations. We can't show you the exact names and emails, but yeah, you understand. So we were trying to find a user who is very very critical. In the whole run, we have found many identities, but we wanted to see, wanted to find the goat, the greatest of all time, the person who is very risky for the company. So this identity, he was a super admin of a $3 billion company, and he had his leak contained 10 tokens, almost 15 passwords, and also many internal URLs, prod URLs, and also some personal data, his Citibank credentials, MedBuddy. So now we have the data, so we could just go and report this to that organization, but we want to validate it. What if the credentials don't work? So we wrote this runner program which took all the credentials which we gathered from many users, and it ran it with all the the whole step by step process. So we used Google BigQuery to fetch the latest API endpoints which were trending, latest login common endpoints which were trending, and we used it to run with the internal URLs which were found. We used it and ran the whole list which we gathered from Google Big API, and then we logged only 200 OK requests and also 403 which were unauthorized, so that we can use the credentials which we found later. So we also logged certain responses which contained key, secret, password, API, something like that. And also we used we logged basically we logged everything. So whatever responses we got, if it is 200, then we logged it. If it is 403, we had credentials 15, almost 15 credentials, so we logged that also. And then we also, last slide, I showed you that almost 15 passwords were leaked, and we use this tool called Engine, which takes all the leaked password as seed and then permutes the password and give us maybe 1,000 passwords which are similar. Then what we did was we ran this in loop until we found the valid credentials for the internal URLs which we just fed to the tool. Do you think we hacked something? So we we had super admin access to the publishing dashboard of a $3 billion company, and we had inside that super admin dashboard we had access to around 21,000 credentials of their employees, and also almost 3,000 configurations, because it's a digital media company. They were sourcing their news and media from different 3,000 sources. So I could do Netflix all day. I mean, like, they have all the news subscriptions. So, so if I was a news firm, I have 3,000 sources where I could fetch news from. This is all subscription keys and all that. And also we had access to the entire dashboard where we could publish any news to the 350 million active users. So do you think it ended there? We wrote a report, right? We gave them what is wrong. So anyone uh, could say what is wrong with this token? Any guess? What? Any other guesses? So you can see a JWT is divided into three parts. So one is the header, which consists of the. I can show you the next slide where I can. So this is a typical JWT. So this is the header. So first blue thing is the header. Second is the MQ is the payload. The payload consists of all the data which defines the user, but there is very less data. So you can see this is the that is the that token. So only one. So we found this token which was just taking one as payload. through which we forged this token and we were able to access a second dashboard as super admin. So this is a second dashboard. So they are a $3 billion company. They could afford a audit, right? So through this, we also compromise many things. So our runner had found a endpoint where JWT secret was leaked in the same dashboard. So we were able to forge the JWT as a super admin. So again, we found more issues. A GraphQL endpoint was open. Again, our runner found this GraphQL endpoint, and we were able to run introspection queries, and we found out every single query which is available and every single mutation which is possible. And we were able to just query anything out of the company. And we also wrote the report to them saying that this is the issue in your company. So if you don't respond, I'll write to certain. So this company is registered in India. So they are bound to many complaints and they have to report it in 6 hours to certain. If they don't report, me being the responder, I'm responsibly disclosing this to the company. I could write this to certain, saying that this is the issue which I found in this company. I can CC the founders also. He didn't respond, but they have fixed every issue. That is the reason I'm presenting. So what do we suggest? So assuming at least 50%, 15% of any employees is compromised, any credentials of any employees is compromised. When the attacker gets valid tokens, even any defenses like WAFs or EDRs or IDS doesn't work because the attacker has a valid credential, valid token. And also leaked token or almost the value of the token or the expiry of the token is never audited by a company, or never any security team doesn't go and ask the development team what is the how much is the our session token is valid. So learnings is, so we have to audit our tokens and also deprovision tokens which are not used. Like for example, if you go and see your customer has multiple tokens, or like any user has multiple tokens which is not being used, or any employee, for example, an internal tool which has many sessions which are not being used. So deprovisioning the token or identity is very important. So again, we come back to MFA, but we just saw that MFA didn't work. But still, MFA is important. So uh, I suggest the hardware-based MFA like YubiKeys are better. And also you have to monitor sign-in activity. Thing is, people monitor for bad sign-in activity. For example, if someone is trying to brute force something, so we have logs for it. But the problem is, when an attacker has credentials, he's logging in and the login is successful. We're not monitoring it. So you can use Google now has passkeys and many companies has passkeys. So you can switch from password to passwordless using passkeys. Again, using the hardware token, or if you're on Windows, Windows Hello can also be used as passkeys. And also, if you are a big scale company, you can switch to zero trust. Also, use honey tokens. I mean, like generally, you create some fake tokens and let it in your company, your systems, your it can be in GitHub, and see and track those tokens. So if some intruder is trying to get in, so he'll get caught by the those tokens. And simulate identity attacks. Thank you.